No one wakes up and chooses to stay poor. No child dreams of struggling, of counting every coin, of watching life pass by from the outside. And yet, millions of people remain in the same place year after year, not because they're lazy, not because they're not trying, but because there are patterns, invisible ones, quiet psychological forces that keep them exactly where they are. And until those patterns are seen, nothing changes. There's a story you don't often hear. A man wakes up early every morning. He works hard. He does everything he was told would lead to a better life. Work hard, stay consistent, be patient. Years pass, but nothing really changes. The money comes and goes. Opportunities appear, then disappear. Hope rises, then quietly fades. And slowly, without realizing it, he begins to believe something dangerous. This is just how life is. Poverty is not just a lack of money. It is a condition of the mind, shaped over time, reinforced by experience, and protected by fear. Because when you live long enough without abundance, your mind begins to adapt to survival. Psychologists call this cognitive tunneling. When you are under financial stress, your mental bandwidth is literally consumed by the immediate threat of lack. Your brain literally loses the capacity to think long-term because it is trapped in a state of high cortisol emergency. You stop thinking in years, you think in days. You stop asking, how do I grow? And start asking, how do I get through today? And survival thinking, while necessary, can quietly trap you in the same cycle. There is something called the law of perception. You don't act based on reality, you act based on what you believe is possible for you. If you've never seen wealth up close, if no one around you has built something bigger, your mind begins to set invisible limits. This is the crab mentality, not just from others, but from within. Your subconscious perceives any move toward the unknown as a threat to your safety, not because you want less, but because your reality has taught you what to expect, and expectations shape decisions. Then there is the law of environment. Human beings are deeply influenced by what surrounds them. If everyone around you is struggling, struggle begins to feel normal, not comfortable, but familiar. And the human mind often chooses what is familiar over what is uncertain, even if the uncertain path leads to growth. In psychology, this is homeostasis. Your internal thermostat is set to struggle. Whenever you start to succeed, your mind may actually trigger self-sabotage just to return you to the state of stress that it recognizes as home. So people stay where they are, not because it's easy, but because it's known. There is also the law of immediate reward. When resources are limited, the brain prioritizes what brings relief now, not later. This is hyperbolic discounting. The brain devalues a massive future reward because the pain of the present is too loud to ignore. So instead of long-term investment, there is short-term survival. Instead of building, there is coping. And over time, this creates a pattern where money is earned but never multiplied. Because multiplication requires patience, and patience is difficult when your present feels unstable. But perhaps the deepest layer is the law of identity. People rarely rise above the level of how they see themselves. If deep inside someone carries the shadow of a victim or a struggler, I'm not the type of person who becomes wealthy, that belief will quietly influence everything. The risks they avoid, the opportunities they ignore, the effort they hold back. Not consciously, but subconsciously. Because the mind will always try to stay consistent with the identity it has accepted. This is why two people can have the same opportunity and walk away with completely different outcomes. One sees possibility, the other sees risk. One moves forward, the other hesitates. And over time, those small differences in thinking become large differences in life. But this is where the story begins to change. Because none of these patterns are permanent. They are learned behaviors, and what is learned can be unlearned. Slowly, intentionally, with awareness. Wealth is not just built with money, it is built with perception, with patience, with the ability to delay comfort today for stability tomorrow. It is built by changing environments, even if only mentally at first, by exposing yourself to new ideas, new standards, new ways of thinking, and most importantly, by rebuilding your identity, not based on your past, but based on who you are willing to become. This is not about blaming people for being poor. Life is complex, circumstances are real, barriers exist. But within those realities, there is still a space, a small one at first, where change begins. And that space is in the mind. Poverty is not always a life sentence, but it becomes one when the patterns behind it remain unseen. So don't just look at where you are. Look at how you think. Look at what you believe. Look at what you've accepted as normal. Because sometimes the biggest barrier is not outside you. It's the quiet voice inside that has learned to expect less.